Okay, so how did I made it from Bangladesh to UK as an emergency medicine specialist? Well, this is a long story for me. As you all know that in Bangladesh we don't have training or anything as a specialty as emergency medicine. There is none till today. So what happened is I had very difficulty when I was in third year of medical school, and I still remember that one day I think the initial days in the rotation, I saw a patient coming into the ward, had a road traffic accident, probably bumped his head with some metallic stuff. And then I was just taking history just like a student, medical student, third year medical student. I was just taking a typical history, and he was talking to me as well and said, okay, he bumped his head and then he lost consciousness and then he's talking. So I thought, oh, he's fine. So I went to run and speak to my register to see what I can do with this guy. He said he seemed fine to me. Well, I guess when I came back, maybe 5-10 minutes later to visit my patient with my register, he was dead. Yes, he was gone. That was like my first shock in my clinical rotation. I never experienced this before, and I was thinking that while I was a good student, I did well in the exams, and I thought I was in a position that I could be anyone, or I could choose any specialty in Bangladesh. My question is, how could I save this patient who was even dead before the consultant being seen or before the register came and see him? So how could we prevent this unexpected death, sudden deaths? So that's in my mind. I didn't know, nobody knew at that time that emergency medicine is a specialty. So I started searching books, internets everywhere, and I finally found emergency medicine existed in North America. That's actually born in North America. Well, and I started looking, and I was, it was because there was no mentor for me at the time. Whoever I speak to, my professors, consultants, everyone like look into my eyes and say, what is emergency medicine? So it's like I'm talking to a wall. So it's dead end. Nobody would even think about emergency medicine back that time anyway. However, I chose that I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go to North America. I'm gonna search emergency medicine, which I did. By the end of my clinical rotations and passing after graduation within a year, I went to North America. I passed USMLE. I did have a tough time. I remember it's of course financial issues. I worked many odd jobs, even grocery stores, for years. I passed USMLEs. I did have a good scores, but yet I couldn't get myself into training. However, I got a chance to work in a level 1 trauma center in Louisiana State University as a emergency medicine research physician. Well, I was just walking one day, thought, okay, I used to live in Louisiana, so I thought, why don't I just walk into the emergency department and see who is there? So I just went in one day, spoke to one of the doctors on the floor. I don't know how do I get in, but he said, oh, you're from Bangladesh. So he was from Spain, I think, and he said, do you want to work in research? I said, what research? He said, emergency medicine. I said, why not? And then he guided me to another consultant who spoke to me like 2 minutes. He said, oh, why don't you go to 13th floor and speak to Debbie? Who is Debbie? she was one of the research coordinator. Anyway, I went to 13th floor, spoke to Debbie, a couple of minutes, and I was hired within less than half an hour. This is my story. So I started working at least a couple of years as emergency medicine research physician in Louisiana State University, which is a level 1 trauma center, one of the best level in North America. So I've seen everything. This is it's very difficult to describe, but then I got one of the best level of emergency medicine care I've seen myself, and that's actually drawn my attention more. This is actually my specialty, what I've been looking for, even though I couldn't get into North America because I didn't have any strong CV, and it's actually is very competitive in North America as a foreign medical graduate. You know how difficult it is even going into pediatric or psychiatry. Even though I did have some offer in psychiatry or pediatric, I didn't take it. I just couldn't make up my mind to stay in a country and not chasing emergency medicine. Anyway, I came back to Bangladesh and then started working in emergency department anyway, 2 different hospitals. The last one, United Hospital, which I worked for a couple of years, and by the time I already established skill lab and started teaching doctors, nurses, and is actually recognized by the hospital authority. And also I invented the concept of silent CPR as a part of teaching both BLS and ACLS together, and also team organization. And I structured it in a way that I can teach to nurses and they can teach to other nurses. So it's like simplified ACLS and team management. It's a bit more than ACLS, but it's so simplified that nurses can take it. So it's really, really important. Anyway, so all these, and also I started to teach in many other areas. Like I started to run the ATLS stations for Society of Emergency Medicine, and also in some other societies. However, in the meantime, I chose to go for MRCP, which I passed quickly. I don't know how, but then I think the reason I passed MRCP because I would see more patient in A&E, in the emergency department, and I used to go and study a bit about those patients, and I started to think that, well, nobody's taking MR Chem from Bangladesh, why don't I take something that everybody else is taking? So MRCP, there was a study group, there was a teaching sessions, tutors for MRCP, so I didn't have difficulty passing, except for the final part, which I think it's because I didn't rotate in internal medicine. So, but I passed anyway. However, after passing MRCP, I actually promoted myself in the same hospital, in United Hospital, Dhaka, as a specialist in emergency department, which is I think one of the, I was the first specialist. There was no specialist before me. I was the first specialist of emergency medicine. And then of course I passed IELTS 7.8, I guess. My average is 8. And then I applied, then I started to speak to these agencies who hired people from abroad. And surprisingly, I had 3 interviews, and I was selected in all 3 of them. I chose one, which is close to London, and as a specialist, ST4 level, with some good salary, yes. And during the interview, well, I think the reason they took me is not because I don't have MR Chem, but I guess the reason is my dedication, my contribution to emergency medicine. That's something in my CV, and I never worked anywhere else other than the emergency department, and I've been chasing emergency medicine for a long time. And even though I do have MRCP, at that time I did have MRCP, but all my life I worked in the emergency department. So that's another reason. And when I moved to UK, I didn't have difficulty adjusting myself as a register level, and I didn't have any difficulty to pass a mark within 6 months, which I already told you in other video. So that's the story. So if you ask me what kept me going, I would say I just the patient I told you in the third year of medical school, I just couldn't take it that I would be a consultant and in a country or in a system where a patient would come in and they would die even before seen by a consultant or a specialist, but especially that we are lacking. So in a way, emergency medicine at that time of my medical school, I kind of invented emergency medicine. Oh, it existed, which nobody knew, and then chasing it, probably I went to the wrong country for the right reason. Now I'm in the right country. So this is my specialty regardless of the degree. So my message to you guys is, it's not the paper certificate you need. Obviously it's a goal at some point. You will get it if you keep trying. You will get the certificate, but it's not the goal. It was not my goal. My goal was to be a dedicated emergency physician, and I would love to teach. That would make a big difference between life and death. Okay, so becoming an emergency physician is with the success is not the result at the end result coming to UK. That is not the success for me. That is probably one of the results of my journey. My success is the journey to UK or the journey in Bangladesh, that where I struggled, I learned, self-learned, and also I teach at the same time. So that's in short my story, my guys, and we'll be speaking to other topics as well. Thank you.